Hi guys, welcome to my channel. How are y'all doing today? So here today on Abby the Witch, we are going to be doing the last prompt of the Witch's Black Lent, the 7 Deadly Sins Challenge, created by Trish from Beanbag Hagwag and Jasmine Ambrosia here on YouTube. So this week's prompt is basically your final thoughts, okay? Technically, it was supposed to be a journal entry, and I kind of made a journal entry because I have notes here to talk about, but I also wanted to come on here on camera and talk to you guys about it and what my final thoughts were and just everything that I really learned about the sin that I worked with. So if you haven't watched any of my other prompts for this challenge, I am working with the sin greed. This challenge really requires you to take one of the 7 deadly sins and strip it down naked and look at it for what it really is and what it really means. How can it actually empower you? Some of the prompts have included making an effigy or drawing an effigy of your sin. I decided to actually draw a sigil, an incantation or a poem for your sin, a spell or ritual for your sin. And like I said, for this week, it's just kind of like your final thoughts on everything and how it all went. So for this specific prompt, there is actually 3 questions to answer. The first question is, what did I enjoy about this challenge? First of all, I really enjoyed the balance of structure and freedom. I loved that it wasn't just, okay, pick a deadly sin and tell us how it goes. Each week had its own prompt, but within that prompt, you really had freedom to kind of complete that prompt however you wanted to. So I really liked that about it. It was structured, but not too structured. We had freedom, but it wasn't too like, well, what do we do? I really liked that about this challenge, and it was really cool to see all the other witches who participated and kind of how they interpreted that prompt and how they did this challenge with their sin that they worked with. I also really liked how it forced you to really reflect on the sin that you chose to work with. Like I said, I worked with the sin greed, and it really forced me to look at greed from a different perspective. It really forced me, like I mentioned earlier, to strip it down naked and to really look at it for what it really is and what it actually means. After doing this challenge, I can kind of compare it to the word selfish. Selfish also gets a bad reputation. It reminded me of the word selfish because selfish isn't always bad. It's not. Self-care is selfish. Setting boundaries can be selfish. Being selfish isn't always bad. Being selfish is sometimes really good. Being selfish is sometimes very necessary. So it reminded me of that word because I feel that way after doing this challenge now about greed. I feel that greed isn't always a bad thing. I feel that sometimes it's necessary to want more money. It's normal to want more money in the world that we live in. Now, can you be too greedy? Can you be too selfish? Yes, that's when these things are bad, right? It's important to keep these things in balance. And it's important to not hurt others around us. And I think that's one reason that the church and even the society in general, like I kind of talked about in my very first video, weeks 1 through 3 for this challenge, is that that's why they teach us that these things are always bad. They're inherently bad. It's always bad to want more. It's always bad to need to feel like you need more and not just be grateful all the time for what you have. You should be grateful for what you have, but I feel like teaching us that it's always bad to want more is a way of controlling us so that we're always not quite as powerful as they are. So that's what I've learned really about greed and really any of these 7 deadly sins. It's just about balance. It's about balance. Okay, so the second question is, what would make this challenge even better? I really struggled to think of anything to make it better. I really liked how this challenge already was. The only thing I could really think of was, like I said, I did really like the balance of structure and freedom, but I feel like within the words itself, like how the questions were worded or how the prompts were worded, I feel like there could have been more freedom within how it was worded, if that makes sense. Like instead of saying draw an effigy, it could have been draw an effigy or a sigil or whatever you like. Now, again, this was me like really thinking hard about anything to change about it. To me, the freedom was very implied, so I don't think that's really necessary to reward any of the prompts, but if I had to think of anything, that's the only thing I could really think of. The last question is, was your spell or ritual effective? So I did a spell. That was my last video for this challenge. And I will say, yes, absolutely. My spell was very effective. My sigil was very effective. My incantation was very effective. Isn't that just like the best feeling ever when your spell is successful, when the spell that you created yourself is successful? I love that shit. It's like one of the best feelings in the world. I feel so grateful. I feel very, very grateful for how successful it was. And I'll just go ahead and tell you guys what happened. Right after I made that sigil, we found out that my husband was getting a bonus at work. And right after I did my spell, we found out how much that bonus was. And it was actually more than we thought it was going to be. And we were just so excited and happy and elated and grateful and thankful and felt so just happy. It was awesome. Now, am I saying this is all because of my spell work? No, my husband works very, very hard. So of course it was partly that too, but I feel like my spell and my sigil and everything that I worked on very hard myself helped. I will say that with this spell, and I've said this in the past about my magic in general, my magic tends to happen either through a lesson or it happens with lessons attached to it. I think this is the way of my guides, the universe, of keeping me in balance, keeping me grounded as well as spiritual. And I will say that the lesson that came with this is, yes, you can get more, but make sure you're grateful for what you have. There's that keeping the sin in balance, right? Keeping greed well balanced. So yes, very grateful. We have this wonderful bonus from his work. However, there was like a spin. It was like, okay, but you know, don't remember what you have, like. And, you know, I'm very grateful that the universe sent me that lesson to just remind me. You know, it's not like I struggle with that, but it's always good to get that reminder. Just, hey, be grateful. This video is pretty short, but that is everything I have to say about this challenge. That is everything that I learned about working with the sin greed. I love doing this challenge. This challenge was so much fun. It was really interesting. It was very enlightening and beneficial to just do it. It helped me let go of some shame too, so that's always good too. Okay guys, so that is all I have for today. Until next time, I hope you stay very well. Don't forget to follow the snake. Love you. Thank you. Bye.